I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse, trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
Is up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I am your host, Wayne, joined as always by my so professional co-host and producer and friend and all that great stuff, Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm okay. I'm going to stick around as long as StreamYard doesn't boot me out again.
Guys, if there's anybody new watching this show, please don't base your opinion on this show on Paranormal Odyssey Live off of the technical issues that we are experiencing tonight. I'm going to go ahead and warn everyone. Got a great show lined up. We're really excited about it. We got Casey and Dee are backstage, and they're ready to go. Both coming from Oregon. They were on, what was it, a week or so ago? And had some really crazy, just cool encounters that they've been going through.
There's some major out in Oregon issues going on.
Yeah, we invited them back. Dee seems to be working fine. Mine was working fine. Casey is on a delay, and Tiffany keeps getting kicked out. I don't know.
Yes, and like just then, you totally froze and were robotic, and it should be very fun. But we'll get through it. It'll be fine.
I'm sorry again, guys. Maybe it'll even out once we get going. And see, we just lost Casey backstage, so maybe we'll get her back.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, please be with us tonight. Help us get through this.
Thank God it's an after-hour show,
That's right, but we still want to do a good job for everybody.
Oh, yeah. We always want to do our best.
Let's get all of this stuff out the way. Guys, if you haven't done so already, and if you would, please hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very, very much. We're right there at 2,100. Just a few more. Maybe we'll be there tomorrow. We're adding subs every day. But, we're getting there, guys. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so.
And if you would like to be on with Wayne and myself amidst all the fun technical difficulties that we do sometimes, experience, you can contact us both, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com and myself, Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com.
Guys, if you would head over to paranormalworldproductions.com, our website, show some support to all the other shows in the studio over there, including that Bigfoot podcast, which is scheduled to drop our first 5 episodes in less than a week. Friday the
It's
13th.
exciting.
Friday of next week. Brian should be getting back from his trip from hanging out with Todd Standing, and going to finish getting those ready and drop them on Friday. So yeah, please head over to Paranormal World Productions and check out the website, pick you up some merch.
And if you have any questions at all, which the last time we had our guests on, there were right many, just put them in all capital letters and we will get to them. We appreciate it.
I want to remind everybody to head over to Manimal Research on Facebook, become a member. If you don't mind, we would love to have you. Manimal Research, for those of you that don't know, is the Sasquatch investigation organization that I founded back in 2019. Still going strong. Going to be on an expedition not next weekend, but the weekend after, and quite possibly we'll be going live. So, because that will be on a Saturday night, we're planning on doing a show from out there in the woods. So y'all be looking forward to that. But yeah, head over to Manimal Research on Facebook and become a member. We'd appreciate it. Love to have you.
And that'll be so fun. You'll be able to stand in the woods and be like, live on location, Wayne Tutherow. That'll be so fun.
I'm sure that's how I sound too.
If you would, please go to reaperapparelco.com. Any purchase made using the promo code Paranormal Odyssey will save you an extra 10% off of your purchase. So go over there, support Reaper Dan, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Maybe
that would be fun though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I've never been to the location that we're talking about going, so I don't know how the reception is going to be, the signal. So I don't know. Craig, I see Craig Roach is on there. Craig is one that I need to contact about seeing if he wants to go, because it's going to be up. The place we're going is up near you, Craig. I think if you're familiar with Savage Gulf. We're thinking about heading out in that area if you can join us. John's not going to be able to make it, unfortunately. That sucks. But Kevin, maybe a couple more are going out there. But yeah, I'll holler at you, Craig, see if you're available. All right, yeah, we mentioned Brian being out there in Radium up in Canada, and we still don't have Casey back. I don't know what is going on with Casey. Maybe we'll get her. Anyway, you guys know that Brian is up there. Brian, the host of Sasquatch Odyssey podcast, our very good friend, my co-worker, I guess. He's up there hanging out with Mr. Todd Standing, doing some investigations, and we're just going to show a couple of these pictures. A lot of you probably already seen them because he posted them on Facebook, but there he is. Do you know who those gentlemen are? I think one of them is that Kyle guy, right?
Yeah, I really want to say the one in the middle is Kyle, but I'm not sure of the other gentleman.
Yeah, I'm not either. I like the hell out of his hair. I thought about doing dreadlocks for a while. Yeah, I honestly thought about doing my hair in dreads for a while, but my family said they would disown me, so I didn't.
Well, there's that.
Yeah. Here's
isn't that pretty?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, look at this.
Oh, it's just so gorgeous. I could just stay up there just for the scenery, if not Bigfoot.
That they're finding, man. How intricate is that? Something did that. Something did that. I mean, either a human or something with hands put that like that. And you know who we're talking about? Todd Standing. He's infamous for maybe exaggerating his experiences. I don't want to come right out and say hoaxing, but maybe I should. So,
you got to call it like you see it. I mean, I would hope that he wouldn't, but
yeah, but the pictures of the Sasquatch is what he's been called out on. Maybe those are edited a little bit. They're not actually Sasquatch, but that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about that now. But stuff like this, and we don't know if he did that, or All I can say is something
Yeah,
with hands did that.
right. That there had to have been thumbs involved, and I can't wait to get Brian's take on that
Yeah.
for sure.
And look at the size of this break.
Yes, and look at the diameter of that. Like, that's thick,
That is thick.
and it doesn't look as if it's, deteriorated in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fresh. Like that
Yeah.
tree wasn't dead. That was a living tree.
Yeah. And that took some force.
Yeah.
And that's what boggles my mind with all of these, encounters you hear, just the massive strength of these animals, creatures.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
You're exactly right. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Casey was back and we lost her again. So I think what we'll do real quick, Miss Tiffany, if you don't mind, I've got a video queued up, one that we were going to share last time. And let's just
Yeah,
share
sure.
this short little video and or this clip of a video, and I'll stop it after this clip and get y'all's reaction. I'm calling bullshit on it, but y'all let me know what you think. And
Okay.
I'll go ahead and start it. And let me know if y'all can hear it.
On Reddit, showing a cage placed in the middle of a forest with a massive creature inside it. Inside the cage, there are cameras that provide a clear view of this legendary creature's imposing presence. It emits a rather terrifying growl and is covered in a thick coat of fur. In addition to the creature, you can also see other people around the cage, recording this Bigfoot-like figure. The Bigfoot in the video appears to be very aggressive and clearly doesn't like being inside the cage. It's desperately trying to break free, and its immense power is causing the entire cage to shake. If this video is indeed genuine, it raises the possibility that we might see these mighty creatures in our zoos in the years to come.
You see this app right here?
Again, guys, I'm calling BS on that one. It's just the way the thing was moving inside the cage looked human to me. The way it was swaying and taking steps, that looked like human movement to me. What do you think, Tiffany?
I do. And Sam here put this video is from an Animal Planet show from several years ago. It was a hypothetical scenario exploring if a Sasquatch was caught.
Thank you very much, Sam.
And we have a question here.
Okay.
In the southeast portion of the U.S., have you come across reports of creatures being reported as having all white fur or hair?
Put that back up. Let me see. In the southeast portion of the United States. You hear about, what was it, Alabama has the Alabama white thing. They talk about an Alabama Bigfoot that has white hair down in Alabama. So I've heard about that one. And then Pennsylvania is not really the southeast. It's the east, but it's not the southeast. But supposedly there's a white one or a family of white ones. I had a gentleman on a couple of years ago that had a run in with a white one in Pennsylvania, and they talk about maybe a family of them out in that area.
Right.
But
And there was that video floating around on YouTube. I'm not sure the location of it though, where the guy recorded the he's calling it an albino Bigfoot.
That was Pennsylvania.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. But yeah, those are the only ones. And Naomi here is saying White Bluff Screamer reported to be white. Okay. In White Bluff, Tennessee. All right. We got Tiffany back. We are going to cross our fingers and hope for the absolute best, because what these guys have to talk about is absolutely fascinating. We talked about it before. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Like,
And we have lost
people,
Wayne. There he is.
like I was trying to say, it's not going to be
Yes.
everyone's cup of tea. Like the topic
Mhm.
that they're going to be talking about tonight. Not everyone buys into it, but it's something that we need to talk about because there are a lot of people out there that are experiencing this stuff. And Dee and Casey are a couple of them, and the stuff that they talk about is very compelling. Dee, his camera is off again. Those of you that weren't with us the last time, we talked about he's in the public eye out there in the state of Oregon. He works with the youth, and he's protecting his name, his image. He's not really ready to be completely out and talking about this stuff yet, but he is talking about it, just doesn't want his identity known. So we are protecting that. So, and we lost Casey again, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring D on, unless you've got something else, Tiffany.
No, nope. Let's get on while we can.
D, how's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well, very well. Thank you so very much for coming back and hanging out again. We lost your buddy Casey. She's having some trouble out there, man. Hopefully we'll get her back, but for right now, we just got you.
All right. Well, I'll try not to disappoint.
I don't think that you will, man. All right. Just briefly refresh everyone's memory about what you are experiencing out there in Oregon.
Well, yeah, me and Casey met about 2.5 years ago now, and ever since we've really met, we've kind of, without meeting, made a pretty good connection, and then led into meeting and expeditions and whatnot. But I started having experiences on my own when I was 13 years old and kind of ran away from the force and hid from it for 20 plus years. And she's the one that coaxed me back out and convinced me to talk to her. And then, once we opened up those energies, it wasn't long before things started happening again while I was hunting. And then when I'm sleeping, and then when I'm just out picking mushrooms. And I mean, now it's sometimes when I go to work, or I'll get back to my truck and there'll be something sitting on my center console, or it's been hot and heavy ever since we've made a connection. So it's just been a lot of different Sasquatch activity and really intense drifts. Casey's met several different spirits since we've been back in connection. So there's just a lot of energies going around, which I wish she was here to elaborate on that, because that's not really my thing. Like I said, she's the one that's really been doing this for a long time. I just I had a story that she wanted to hear, and I finally broke down and told her, and then she kind of found out I had more stories that I wanted to tell, or that she wanted to hear. So yeah, okay. Since then it's just been constant contact and going out and leaving gifts and receiving messages.
Okay. And for those that might not have been here last time, when you say drifts, I know that's mostly what Casey has experienced. You have had different types of experiences, but when you say drifts, it's y'all were calling them dreams for a while, right? And then you thought drift is a better way to describe it.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like saying dreams, because I don't know, the way I think of like a dream is something that you're enjoying the moment in, and you're like having a nice dream and you still wake up and you're rested and everything. Like when we have drifts, sometimes I'll wake up more exhausted than I went to sleep, and it'll be like I didn't sleep at all. It'll just be like I was just there, but not there while I was sleeping the whole time. It's hard to explain, but like, yeah, we'll have what we call drifts, and then I'll be like completely dead the next day, or I have some health issues and it'll really start to zap me. And then I'll end up, having to take a day or two and shut down, sometimes even go to the hospital over it. So, yeah, I mean, in the way that, that it's been explained to me and Casey and I have explored on our own is, it's just, yeah, sometimes when I have, especially connections with who is my watcher, which out of the four of ours, my watcher's name is Bara. I call him Ba. Like when we connect, like it's like my batteries when we're connected are like overly charged. And then once it's away, it's like, he ate all my batteries. So I've talked to other people kind of through Casey and everything. And that's kind of, and gotten messages from them and information where it's just like, yeah, in our forum, we can't really handle their comprehension and whatnot. And that's why they don't really make long-term connections. It's usually short, hour out, 2 hour, sometime interactions. And then, it's basically just because we can't handle more.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we've got Casey back, so I'm going to try to bring her on, and let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right.
No, I said that, and then it went blank.
Oh, no.
Casey, we're trying, ma'am.
I'm really feeling like there's something that is just not allowing this to.
That's something that, we've had so many phone conversations that she actually started audio recording all of them. And then she also has her milligast reader that she uses. So like we'll be talking about certain topics, and then that thing will just go crazy. And then her voice will get distorted, or I'll get kicked off. Or
she commented here, my phone says full Wi-Fi, but won't work. My EMF reader is going off. Someone's here. LOL. I don't know if she's talking about a spirit being there or what.
Yeah, I mean, she's thinking that we probably have our kin piggybacking in on our conversation, wanting to know what we're saying. So that could be something that she has going on her end or on my end. I believe her watcher lives down in her area because she lives so far, she lives 7 hours away from me. So,
but man, that's something that we hear all the time. These things somehow have the ability to mess with our electronics.
So she had me set up one day to talk to someone, and my phone battery went from 100% charge to dead, and it wouldn't take a charge for like 4 hours, basically until after that opportunity had gone away. And then then my phone was back to normal. I called her the next day and I go, phone's perfectly fine. I don't know what's going on. But
that's just not normal. I was on with Doug Hychek a couple of weeks ago, and I brought that up because I've had it happen to me where my battery died on my FLIR when I was experiencing being around a Sasquatch. I was trying to film a Sasquatch. I had one in my thermal imager, and the battery kept dying. And Doug, I don't know if you know who Doug Hychek is. He's the producer of Monster Quest, and he actually made the first camera that actually filmed the first ever giant squid. So that's how he kind of become famous. But he's a tech guy. And I asked him, is that normal for batteries? Because it was like 15 degrees when I was up there having my experience. It was just bone crushing, bitterly cold. And I had heard that the severe cold can drain your battery. And that's what I had always thought was what was doing it to my FLIR, because my FLIR was 100% charged. Like everything I take out in the woods before an expedition, I completely charge it, and the FLIR was charged. And then when this Bigfoot shows up and we start to film it, there's not enough battery on there to film. I could only take still shots. And I had to run back to my truck several times to charge it. And I asked Doug, is that normal? And he said no, that the cold would not do that. So what did?
The last time me and Casey were on our way up to the Mossy Road, she had her phone plugged in. And the minute she unplugged it and set it on the center console, it just turned itself on and off like 100 times and wouldn't stop doing it. And it was like, it was starting to, kind of freak us out a little bit, because I was like, what is going on? And it would just, it'd turn off, and then
Hey, D, something's happened with your audio, buddy. Could you speak up?
Did you? Okay. Yeah. So the last time we went up the Mossy Road, her phone just started flipping out, turning off and on like 100 times within like probably a 3/4 of a mile worth of road. So like having things happen, or what, she'll go through our audio once, you know, I go to work and we get off the phone, and she'll call back and be like, check this out. You know, this voice said something while we were talking. I'll be like, what? Be like, yeah. And then like she'll play it and I'll be like, oh my God. And like we'll hear people or something say or respond, sometimes in English, sometimes in like almost like a jargon mumble talk. I've really never had any type of experiences like I'm telling you about right now until I met Casey and we started exploring this, and I kind of allowed it to be real again in my brain. So like I truly believe like they have the ability to manipulate technology, no problem at all. We've actually been told specifically after we took our phones with us and she took the milligas reader the first time we went up to our special place that that the technology wasn't welcome there. So we actually leave it in the car and walk in, you know, basically just with our gifts. I mean, the only thing I take up there is a pocket knife with me, and that's just in case we find mushrooms.
Yeah, this is a little bit off topic, but since you brought it up, it's something I'm curious about. You say they tell you that technology isn't welcome. Have they ever told you anything about firearms? Have they asked you like to not bring firearms?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I've never been told that way before, but I've gotten out of the car and almost had like, you know, like a feeling like I shouldn't be, you know, during hunting season, and I'm kind of like, you know, multitasking. I'm like, oh, you know, I'll drop off my gifts and I'll walk further up this road. But you know, I've gotten out of the truck before and been like, I shouldn't take my rifle, and end up leaving my gun in the truck and just walking up there. The first time I went up there with Casey, a herd of elk was up there 60 feet away from us, just running around constantly when we had found all these Sasquatch made tree stands and different archways and stuff, and we were kind of focusing on everything around us. And then I looked down and I'm like, oh, there's a whole entire herd of elk here. And she was like, what? And then I pointed them out, and it was just, but yeah, no, I've never been told not to take my rifle with me, but I have gotten the feeling when I've gotten out of the car and almost like, you know, almost hearing something like, you know, like, what do you need that for type thing? Or I guess it could just be subconsciously me being like, I don't need this here. But I've gotten out of the vehicle there with a gun before and ended up leaving it there. So,
Yeah, I wondered about guns because my 45 is on my hip every time I go into the woods. And that's not, I've said it a million times, that's not for Bigfoot. That's obviously if I got threatened by one, I would do anything I could to protect myself. But that's for the other animals. And if I run into any crazies, any psychos, because I'm more afraid of people than I am humans.
Yeah,
you know?
yes. In the part of Oregon that I live in, the meth epidemic is very real, and sometimes you see more meth heads in the brush than you do animals for the day. So I completely understand what you're saying. I'm not saying I go anywhere else when I'm hunting without my gun, but I've been told and I feel very protected when I go up that road. Like nothing will ever happen to me there. So,
Yeah,
I've seen them physically. I've seen them hunt before. I've been invited on a hunt. So like, I don't fear for myself when I'm up there. I fear for somebody that were to mess with me, actually.
that brings up another interesting point that I wanted to get to last time that I didn't get to. But I wanted to show this real quick. Casey just sent me a picture of what her connection is saying. And I mean, it's showing right there that she has full strength Wi-Fi. There's no reason.
Yeah, it's not the first time this has happened. I mean, we've had to hang up because I can't hear her and her voice will go completely robotic, or she'll just say, you're not even speaking English. And then she'll call me back and we'll, you know, try to carry on later.
Yeah.
Especially ever since her ex-husband's passed away, there's been a lot of phone interactions and things that before meeting Casey, I kind of scoffed at, didn't really believe in. And, you know, since then, like, there's no way of ignoring it. There's no such thing as a coincidence, or having 25 of them in a row. It's no longer a coincidence, you know? So
Yeah. Casey is saying, she just commented in the comments, tell them about the hunt.
So yeah, I was invited one time with my kin for a hunt, and basically I was able to watch them basically push 3 deer down into basically a dead end, and then basically once who was pushing the I believe Daru was pushing the deer, and then once they got down past a point where they couldn't get out of this little ravine, the 2 elder ones, Bara and Ka, jumped down behind them and dispatched them rather quickly. I mean, Bara packed the 3 of them back to the camp. I believe it was Bara, with all 3 of them on one shoulder, like you or I would pack, 3 spools of rope. I mean, like, there was no energy exerted whatsoever. It was just.
So you actually witnessed a hunt?
Yeah, I was perched on a rock above, and I didn't really get to do anything other than really be in awe. So this is where I wish Casey was here with us, because she always remembers all the little knickknacks of all these discussions and everything, as to where I remember, like, the gist of everything. Because what you have to understand is, after we met, like, things were happening not like on a weekly or monthly basis, but like nightly. It was either I was having a drift, or the next day I was going to the woods and things were happening, or I'd wake up and I'd be gifted stones in the front of my truck, or I'd get to my job site and there'd be something sitting on my excavator, or the sky's the limit. Casey's getting feathers. I've received feathers. I received glyphs multiple times. It just, yeah. And before, talking about this, it was like it was not there, or I wasn't receptive to it, so it wasn't real. But like, as soon as she turned the faucet on, it was like drinking out of a fire hose. So
she's back. Let's try this one more time.
There she is.
There she is.
Am I here? Oh, gosh, you guys. I have been just done. I'm like, stop. All right.
Just keep your fingers crossed, okay?
I have been chit-chatting with Sam Kitchen this whole time. He did first interview. Sam Kitchen. Hey, Sam. He's all, turn your Wi-Fi on and off to restart your computer. He's been sitting here with me the whole time, like, and then I'm like, nothing's working. And my EMF reader is over here going beep, 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 beep. And Donald knows that I keep it in one spot where I know it doesn't beep. I can keep it here all day long and it won't make a noise, but it's just telling me, hey.
Yeah, I saw him comment that. I appreciate your help, Sam. I don't know you, Sam, but we've never met, but thank you for helping her.
Oh my gosh, the hunt. Okay. That was a fun. Yeah. What did you say?
Yeah,
the hunt. Oh my gosh.
Talk about what you remember from the hunt, Casey.
So I remember is because I heard about this. It's so unbelievable. Sometimes you wouldn't even. Sometimes he's like, okay, well, get your straight jacket out for me because I'm going to tell you something really interesting. The hunt. So he said, yeah, Daru pushed some deer into this ravine. They were intercepted by the 2 elders and carried off. Donald was watching. It was that night that he had a drift that I was dancing around a fire. There was a fire and I was there running around, and that's not the time, but I was running around this fire, but there was 4 versions of me. And Ka, the elder, said, your Tootie Lee's over there. And I looked the same. There was like 4 versions dancing around a fire. And
I remember this.
And then he goes, well, which one is it? It's like a test from the elder. And he said, which one is it? And he passed the test, I believe, because he took a bucket of water and splashed the fire out, and he could see my green aura and knew exactly which one I was. So in a lot of these interdimensional situations that we have, there are different versions of ourselves, and it's really interesting to getting so far down a rabbit hole just even bringing this up. But that was part of the hunt. After the hunt, Donald got to see that, yes, they do make fire. Yes, they do eat their food cooked and warm, and they have these like burning areas. Like they have a whole section of the forest. And I want you to talk about that a little bit, Donald, because that is just so intriguing, because everybody wants to know. Do they just rip the ribs out and, eat them raw? Or do they, savor and cook? Or do they do both? And when I say they, I mean the Sasquatch people.
That's like 3/4 of a way down a very long story. However, I mean, I could just get to the gist of it. The human backpack is a pretty long, good one, but
yeah, however you want to handle it, Tom.
Do you want to get down to that like crazy, like straight jacket person story with talking about the fire pits, or do you just want fire pits?
No, I mean, you just would like me to tell you guys about the fire pits, or do you want? I mean, do you want the whole like that story? I'll probably take up the rest of the time because that was.
Let us have it, man. It's your show. We're here for
the
weird.
Okay, so yeah, I was on one of my gifting trips. I was up the Moss Road, and I had gone up, and I'd gotten some messages that I should be and be giving gifts, and I was busy at work, and I wasn't able to get up there for a while. And then I ended up going up on a day when I guess I wasn't really supposed to be there. They were having a gathering. So a gathering is typically during like the fall and spring equinoxes. They'll have like a clan leader from each of the clans. They'll get together. I don't know what goes on during the discussions. I've never been there for that. However, so I was there. I was putting up my gifts, and I was kind of being rushed along. And then Bara, like the portals, I guess, were starting to appear for the other clan members to show up, and it wasn't good for me to be there then. I had to go away. So Bara grabbed me by the arm and threw me up over his back. The one thing that I am afraid of on this entire planet, like I'm sure I'm afraid of many things, like once you're in the heat of the moment, but the one thing that I am afraid of is heights, and I don't like them. I've made it perfectly clear to him. He's made fun of me before in real life and in Drift over this situation before. So without anything, he kind of just threw me up over his shoulder like I was a human backpack. Proceeded to run up the side of a tree, jump back and forth between multiple trees, and then take up and get about 80 to 100 feet off the ground and jump from tree to tree until we were well far out of the area and past another area that me and Casey have gone up and explored before called Area 1 in some of her writings and everything. So he actually took me up to an area that Casey had seen before in Drift that I had seen before, but didn't know it was the same type area. There's a waterfall, a very small waterfall, but it's surrounded by all these flat rocks. And basically I went up there and I got to hang out up there for a while. And then it was back on the back again. And then we went up further over a bunch more ridges, also through the trees, and came down in this area that my father and one of my friends that my father hunts with had found a road one day when I wasn't hunting with them. My dad and my friend call this the Bones Road. So I've talked to him about it multiple times. I've never went down the road until I ended up, well, I've still never been down the road because I went in from above. But so there's this road that you got to understand this first. So my dad is like a very stern, very avid hunter. He, you know, there is what I know, and then there's everything else that I don't know, and what I know is real. So I guess they were hunting going down this road, and they found a giant pile of bones off the side of this road, well down this road, where where he would say typically, people wouldn't be going down here because there's no reason to be going down there. And I was like, okay, well, why were you going down there? And he's like, well, because people don't go down there. That's why I did. Anyway, he likes to answer questions like that. So anyway, he finds this pile of bones with my friend, and all of the bones had been twisted and broken and the marrow extracted from them. So my friend explains this to me as my dad instantly takes his 9mm off his hip and puts its shell in, and then puts it back in without the safety on. And in my 45 years of life, I've never seen that from my dad. I've never seen him lose his cool in the woods. I'm not really so sure I've ever seen him lose his cool like in that type of a situation before. So he loses his cool in a completely different type situation. So for that, and then he refused to go any further down the road, made my friend get back in the truck, and they've left, and he's never been back down to the road. He makes fun of the road every time we drive by it now, but he won't stop there. Anyway, so during our excursion, Bara takes me, and we come in over this road, and I understand where we are because I see the two forks in the road that lead up to where we're going. You wouldn't really understand that unless you know the area that we're in. So sorry about the vagueness there, but so we dropped down on this really mossy covered hillside with all these long old growth fir and spruce trees that have been knocked over, pushed over, blown over, and they're underneath the moss are all these dug out deep. Some of them are coffee can sized holes, some of them are slightly bigger, but they're all these underground, I'd say about 2.5 to 3 feet deep little fire pits that basically they build this fire down inside the ground, and then their meats are put right on top of that over a large clean stone, and then the moss they put over that to try. It basically almost completely eliminates the smoke by the time it leaves the trees. If you were to see it through the woods where it's from, you'd see like it would look like the moss was just leaking, smoke or fog. It would look it would look like the ground is basically breathing. It looks really eerie. But in this one area, there were probably 40 or 50 fire pits where they go, and this is a long way from where the special place is on the Moss Road, because that's down where their sacred ground is, where what it's never been completely explained to us, but where I believe their kin is buried, and why they're so protective over the area. And that's where they live, is down in that area, I believe, as well. So these fire pits and everything, they're, as a crow flies, about 5.5, 6 miles away from where I started on this story, where my actually feet were on the ground. So yeah, I got explained what those were because I was very inquisitive with them. Typically all of my interactions where I get explanations from them is what Casey refers to as mind speak. I hear the voice in my head. I've heard them make audible sounds before. I've heard them speak gibberish before. As far as when I get my messages, when we communicate, it's something that I can't think of the word, but it's spoken between us without audibleizing at all.
Like telepathy?
That's the word. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Telepathy. So,
there's a lot to unpack from that story, man.
It's why we Magi, because he is I've talked to so many people and heard so many stories, but when I speak to Donald, and I've been doing this, and like I said, I've been recording this for 2.5 years. It's just, there's no way you can make this stuff up. And he's like, here's gifts from Kiki, and then footprints, and then I have all these gifts too, and it's just like there's just no It's like the picture I gave to you that you put on last time. It's like there's no denying that's real stuff. I mean, nobody can make this up.
So D,
if I could, I'd be a writer.
Maybe you should be. Put
Yeah,
some of this
there you
down to share it, man. So if I'm hearing this right, you're a grown man. You're how tall are you, D?
I'm 6 foot tall.
I am too. So a 6 foot tall man. The Sasquatch picks you up, throws you over his shoulder like I do my 2-year-old daughter.
Exactly like you would your 2-year-old daughter.
And starts climbing this tree and jumping from tree to tree.
Well, he didn't. Well, there was no climbing. Right? There was no climbing. I mean, basically, it just started kind of a jog, and then, like the most athletic person in the world would do, just kind of ran up one tree and started jumping back and forth until he was up high enough, and then it's almost like he'll jump and push with his feet to get from tree to tree. And I mean, these are 120 foot, 150 foot fir and spruce trees. And, they're swaying 40, 50, 60 feet side to side when he's pushing off. That's the size and the physicality of these things. Like as he's moving, it looks like, the dinosaurs that move the trees in Jurassic Park in those movies. Like you're like, oh my God, but this is real. And then you land on a tree, only you're huge. So you're not landing on a tree and just going, you're landing on the tree sways, and then you have to wait for it to come back up, and then he goes again. So, and like I said before, I'm scared to death of heights, and my legs were closed. At one point I thought to myself, I'm going to piss my pants. And he literally said back, you better not, like it was kind of like, well, take me down. And that's when we were down at that's when we first came down close to the waterfall area.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. What were you thinking when this
aside from
sheer fright,
from shooting yourself, what were you doing?
I can't, like I've told Casey multiple times, I don't really process anything there. It's more of like once I talk to Casey and we'll talk about it later and everything, but it's just the most, I mean, it's scary every single time that I've ever been around them. It never gets easier, especially with Bara, who I tell Casey that, I think of him as the Sasquatch version of me. He's like a big smart ass that if he can scare me, why wouldn't he? There's no consequences for him. If I was him and he was me, I'd do the same thing. Like that's just kind of like, and he, he senses and feels my fear, so he plays off of that like a big brother would. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I feel so safe in the forest, is because I feel like, oh yeah, he's gonna mess with me the whole time, but nobody else is.
Yeah. So I'm just, I mean, you understand when people hear something like this, that how difficult it is to believe, right?
It is so.
Yeah, I'm the guy that absolutely says, yeah. I mean, even though me and Casey were talking, I didn't let her tell anyone about this kind of stuff forever, because I was like, they're gonna want to put me in Salem in a straitjacket. Like, I don't even comprehend the stuff that I'm saying. I can't figure it out. I don't know why it's happening to me. It happened to me so long ago, and all I did was run from it. So why would it be like, why would it be me now?
I can't imagine being in your shoes, man. If something this fantastical, this crazy, insane was happening to me, I would want to tell everybody. But you hit it right on the head. They're going to call you batshit crazy.
My phone from 60% to 20%, and now I have a low battery and my phone's dying, just to let you.
Yeah. But I mean, you see what I mean, D? That has to be such a terrible spot to be in, because people want to hear this stuff. They're probably not going to believe it, but you're in that position. It's happening to you. You want to share it, but then
the only people I share it with is Casey and my daughter, my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter. I have one daughter. My daughter, like, she kind of like when me and Casey were talking, like I'd be like, oh, I'm going up in the forest today. And like sooner or later, she's like, why are you going up there? And I'm like, well, like, what do you care? And then, so she'll like hint at things. And I'll be like, wait, like what? And it's the same with Casey's oldest daughter. Like they know more right now than they're letting on to. And I think it has a lot to do with like the same way I felt like when it first happened to me. Like I was hunting with my dad since I was 3 years old. I had been carrying a 22 since I was like 5 years old. I will hunt squirrel. I just want to be out in the woods hunting. And I went one day, I saw a caw. Within a half an hour of that, we came around a corner and there was a coyote in the middle of a field that on any other day, I would have been the first guy out of that truck and that coyote would have been one dead coyote. And I refused to get out of the truck. I didn't get out of the truck the rest of that day, and I didn't hunt the rest of that season. And I didn't know if I was ever going to hunt again because, like I said, on the first time I was with you, this is in the early 90s. There's not the internet. In my mind, there is only certain things that I can see out in the woods, and a Sasquatch isn't one of them. I'm like bear, cougar, deer, elk. This is what I'm going to see around here are the big animals. And then all of a sudden I look to my left and that's none of the four. And there's no question, not even a 0.00001% chance that it's one of those four. It is definitely what I'm looking at. But I still don't even really know what I'm looking at until later on, down the road, watching TV shows and talking to people and hearing stories. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's what happened that day. That's what I saw. And then what do you do? You go tell your dad, like, hey, Dad, 10 years ago, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and no doubt you guys, I mean, Casey included, you have to be, why is this happening to me? Why is this falling on my shoulders? And D, with the situation you're in where you have to be anonymous, why didn't they choose somebody else who didn't have to be anonymous? You just have to question that.
I always think of it as maybe that's why they were trying to make contact when I was younger. So I wouldn't have started a completely different life, because now it feels like I'm being torn between two different lives and two different realities. And like, there's the public figure that I am that is all this, and then as soon as work's done, it's like, okay, so this is what I actually think and believe. How do I entertain both lives?
Right. Well, it makes it difficult.
Yeah, D, I'm trying to figure out when this Daru, when he has you on his shoulders, are you like grabbing hair? What are you grabbing onto to try to hold on?
So he has my right arm at about the bicep, and that's where he grabbed me and pulled me over his right shoulder. And then I kind of put my left arm around his neck a little bit because I couldn't really get all the way down and around it, but I had it to where I could be supported. And then basically I was just the backpack straps, and I was just kind of there holding on. I mean, I guess you have to be held by a Sasquatch before but like I'm 220 pounds, 6 foot tall, and it felt like he was holding a Twinkie, not like, there was no effort to pick me up. It was just like, like you just said, picking up your 2-year-old and throwing him on the back and going and playing Superman and running through the backyard. That's how it was, only I was the toddler.
Oh, he can't wait till it happens to me. He always is like, he said the last time.
I pray every night that sooner or later this happens to her.
My EMF reader just beeped just now. It went beep. Just when I said it. He can't wait till it happens to me because he goes, the last time he had a meeting, he said Casey needs to have her experience, because he's like, I'm sick of being the only one doing all this. Like he said, he's like, no matter how many them and sees.
I think you were going to have your experience the last time we went out if you wouldn't have had your breakdown first.
Started crying. Yeah. I think I was going to have my experience crying.
D, what does he smell like?
Okay, so this is the thing. Like I've watched so much different Sasquatch shows and everything, and they always say they stink. My kin doesn't stink. They don't. They have kind of like. Well, they're all a little bit different. I would say Bara has a little bit like more of oily or thicker, denser, really dark black fur, but if anything, it's like a dead wood mossy smell, but it's not overwhelming or anything like that. I've never been close enough to Daru to smell him. That's Casey's watcher, and I don't think I'm his favorite guy in the world. Kiki, she's almost blonde. She looks like she manicures herself some way. I've been extremely close to her and never picked up on a smell.
Okay, I really believe, and people that I've talked to that have experienced the smell, because I'm open about it. I believe that I've had some experiences with Sasquatch. I have been near them before. I really believe that. And the smell that people talk about is one of the two things that I had never experienced. And the people that I've talked to, I believe it's like a defense mechanism, kind of like they have the ability to put the smell off.
That
And if
could
that's the
very well.
case, yeah, if that's the case, he wouldn't have any reason to put the smell off around you because he's showing himself.
I've never been told that. I mean, that makes extremely good sense. And like I said, I've never been around any of my kin that smell like a skunk ape or like anything bad. I mean, it just, like Bara he smells like a mushroom in wood. And yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. He smells very earthy.
That makes sense. That makes sense. If I was going to imagine what a Sasquatch smelled like, other than like the foulness that people talk about, I would imagine like a earthy, like dirt.
In early
kind of.
summer, they smell like garlic because I take them garlic and it helps with their control of bugs and everything. So, like right after I'll take them a gift, they'll smell like garlic because I believe they eat it and then they rub their skin down with it as well.
Okay, D, I'm just going to ask. I'm going to regret it if I don't ask, and I'm probably going to get beat up by my friends if I don't ask, but I've got to. A Sasquatch is junk. Like,
what?
are they well endowed, like a male Sasquatch? Because I've heard Janice talk about Janice Carter. She has talked about Fox. He was big, and that's just something I got to know, man. It's our after hours thing. I'm sorry, but yeah, I just got to know, man.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I hung out with them in the woods before, and it's not. I mean, you can see there's something in the area, but they're not aroused when I'm around. So how would I know if it's like got a big package or not?
So he's a grower, not a shower.
I'm assuming so. I mean, that area has multiple layers of hair. There's a shorter bunch of hair that's over that area, and then longer sparse hair that kind of hangs over it. And I haven't really just checked out a Sasquatch's junk before, so
I mean,
I will say that Kiki's breast area is different than the boys's. It's not just like solid pecs. There's actually more of a mound there.
Yeah, because we've seen the pictures of Patty, and you can tell she has breasts, just like it looks like a woman's breast, but covered in hair. And is that kind of like what you see with the females in your kin?
So, on her chest, there's long, sparse hair that kind of draped over that, and then the under hair isn't as thick as it typically is, like on the breast area, just above it and below it, it's really thick, but right over that area, it's almost like it's not, it's still shorter, dense hair. It's just a lot more sparse. It's not as grown in as thick as you would, typically see like on Ba or Daru or Ka.
Yeah. Compared to like your hair or like human hair, how much thicker is a Sasquatch's hair?
So like it's hair, like, so it's under hair, like I said, there's two levels of it, basically, like on its face, like around its eyes and on its face, and then on its chest, and then down in its, junk area, I guess is what we're calling it, there's like it almost looks like, like rough on a golf course, like really thick laid out grass, like
Okay.
really thick. And then everywhere else it would be like, the hair on your head as you're aging, how it's thin, but it's still 4 or 5 inches long. Like that's the second layer. So like I think that lower layer is basically for heat, and then the longer hair is for cover, like is for, camouflage and for whatever else.
Yeah, but we laugh talking, about the genitalia of these kind of creatures, but I brought up Janice Carter talking about the 50 years of Bigfoot. I don't know if y'all are familiar with her or not, but she's from here in Tennessee, and she claims that she grew up on a farm with these family of Bigfoot, and the main one, his name was Fox, and her grandpa went and bought him some size 6L, I think it was 6L overalls, and tried to get him to wear them because he thought it was inappropriate for his junk to be out with his 2 granddaughters running around, which I agree with. She said it looked a lot like a man's, but just very large. And I mean, she even talked about like seeing them have sex, like a male and a female Bigfoot having sex, and like how they did it and everything.
So the only thing that I would dare to venture without somebody calling me a gazer, I would say that they, like, compared to like a human penis, I would say that it's like longer and skinnier when it's not erect. Like it's just kind of, I don't know, like it's covered in fur so much, but it looks significantly different than ours.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything like that.
No, I mean, I've never seen an aroused Sasquatch before. I can only tell you what I've caught on and it was literally the first time I saw a cow when I was in awe, and just standing there looking up and down would be the only time I really ever like looked at that region specifically and was like, what's going on here?
If you see an aroused Sasquatch, it's probably time to go.
Then it's time to run, because I'm not figuring out what that's about.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man.
But do report back to us if you do. We got to know.
Well, I'm glad I made it back to this part of it.
If y'all are cool with hanging out later, we can stay longer. I mean, that's the beauty of these later shows. We can hang out a little bit later, but it's up to y'all if you have time.
I would love to, but I actually have to pick my daughter up from work. I told her I'd be about 10 minutes late. She gets off at 8, so I don't want to piss off Mama.
Well, a minute ago, I was at 20% on my brand new iPhone 11, and now I'm at 10%. And I was at 65% when I started this conversation.
So y'all probably need to get
this phone. It literally stays charged forever, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it wouldn't work the whole first part of the show. My computer, my phone, my EMF reader was just beeping and going to town, and now my phone's just. The EMF reader stopped, but now my phone's just dying in front of my eyes. Oh, and my internet went away. Cool. So now I'm just working off of the. I can't believe it's letting me do that. This is insane. Donald.
So Casey, you need to go too.
Well, probably because I'm. Otherwise, we're just.
Yeah, our phone's at 10%.
I don't even want to let it go.
Okay. All right. Well,
I really enjoy talking to you folks. So, I mean, if it's something to where there's plenty of more there, and there's some things we haven't talked about. So if you ever, like I said, with a little bit of notice, I can usually make things work.
You guys should start chatting like on Messenger or something, and just like I was going to send him a couple of our recordings, and then if he could hear a little bit of conversation, be like, wow, I'm really interested in learning just about this.
Yeah. That'd be a great idea for next time. Yeah.
So I thought about doing that, especially with like the dragon conversation and like how the orbs started. and stuff like that, because we see these orbs all the time now, and so it just kind of seems to come up whenever we have a certain conversation.
You got
So
some pretty cool videos and pictures of orbs that I've taken for you too.
yeah, it's really cool stuff. Yeah.
I'm really interested in the orbs. I don't know what the hell that's about. And that's something we can talk about next time if you want to, D.
Sure.
Yeah, the orbs are pretty cool. That where those are coming from is really.
We're building up to the Central Oregon story that really causes me anxiety, but we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, D, go get your daughter. Don't want to leave her hanging. And thanks again, buddy, for coming and hanging out.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you again, Tiffany.
Absolutely. Thank you for trusting us with this.
Yeah, not a problem. You guys have a nice night.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
All right. And Casey, I guess we'll say goodbye to you as well.
Yeah, I'm at 9%. It's really going quick. I can't even, I'm literally, but I really wanted him to touch a little bit more on Landon, my ex-husband, because when Landon passed away, and this is wild too, because I recorded this whole conversation. Obviously, he'll text me and be like, hey, I had a drift last night. Get your audio recorder ready. But he drifted that he was at our base camp, which is right over the hill from the Mossy Road. He drifted that he was at that base camp. He was in his little trailer that he sleeps in. And he said he walked out of the trailer and my husband was standing at the end. I'll just call him my husband instead of my ex-husband because
yeah.
And he was standing at the end of the picnic table where I would usually keep my stove. And he was standing there with a sweatshirt on and some jeans. And he said he had a white like outline about him. And he said he walked out and he said, whoa, hey. And he said, I need to talk to you. Landon. His name is Landon. I need to talk to you. And he said he acted like he was like on his 15 minutes lunch break or 30-minute lunch break. And he had something really imperative that he needed to talk about. So he said he walked right over to the fire pit and then Donald walked around there and he said, I have to talk to you. And then he proceeded to tell Casey this, tell Casey that. And I just can't even, it's hard to talk about because I want to bawl my eyes out because he said, tell her to be patient. And he said the word patient like a million times because I am like always in a rush. Okay. I'm always like, I want it now. I want it yesterday. And he said, be patient. And he said, Hazel's going to need a lot of help. Our daughter, Jesse's going to need help. Our son, Chloe, our oldest daughter, she just turned 18. She's a seer. And he said, if I ever need messages to get to Chloe, I will deliver them myself. But I want you to tell Casey, thank you. Thank you for the most precious gifts I've ever had. And it's crazy because he always did say that to me. He was always like, I love you. Thank you so much. And even after we got divorced, he was like, thank you. And he, on Christmas Eve was our last big conversation and he passed away on January 7th. So our last big conversation where he talked for like an hour, he said, thank you for always being their rock, for always being there for them. And then when Donald turned around and Landon said to him in the drift, tell her, thank you for being their rock. Thank you for always being there for them.
Wow.
Thank you, precious gifts of all. I couldn't even believe it. I was literally just like, what?
How do you explain that?
Real.
You can't explain that.
That's just that validation.
Yeah, you can't explain that.
Because I've heard him say it to me a million times in real life when he was alive. There's just no way of like faking that because he is the one man that has always gotten in my face and been like, thank you for everything that you do. You're the best mom. You were the best wife. He made so many mistakes, but he always has been validating me in my motherhood and when I was a wife. And So when Donald told me that stuff, it was wild. But he has given him messages to give to me. And these are all happening in a place that's really sacred. And there is apparently a dragon sleeping there. And then we started talking about it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I've got this whole conversation about this dragon that visited Donald. And then I had a dragon visit me. And I was like, and it's talking to me and it's talking to Donald. And we like got together. I'm like, this is all recorded. I cannot wait to just, I've been going through these recordings and I've been typing them out. And I'm like, there's just, you know, you can have the book all day long, but I've got the conversations, and the conversations are just amazing to listen to, even though we haven't had the Landon conversation for almost a year. It's when I go back and listen to it, I'm like, this just brings back that whole, there is another type of world out there that so many people don't understand. And sometimes maybe it takes an injury or something really harsh to happen in your life, but then you start seeing spirits and you start talking to them. Or how did this Sasquatch appear to me when I'm 40 years old? This happened 3 years ago, you know, like what happened? Like Donald saw a cog when he was 13. He's, you know, 44 years old. This happened a couple years ago. He saw him again. It's just almost like a piece of our brain opens up that allows like this certain, you know,
whatever it is, I want that piece of my brain to open, because I would love to experience
well, it
stuff
can
like
be a little
this.
scary. Donald is like, he said the last time he saw Caw, Kiki and Caw were sitting next to each other on a log, and he walked through a portal. He goes, it was crackling blue and everything. And he goes, don't be scared. And he told him, walk through it. And he ended up like right just at the bottom of the road where his truck was parked, he said. But he said, Casey needs to have her experience. And they looked at him and just smiled, because he's like, because I'm questioning, because this is all happening in my drifts. I'm like, oh, hey, Daru, hey, you guys. But it's like, I'm sleeping, and it's not like when I go pick my elderberries. It's like different for me. And then for him, it's like, I go up there, I'm hanging out. I get the first time he became the human backpack, it was because there was a car coming up the road. And he said all of a sudden he was on his back and he was halfway up a tree. And he said he started panicking, and Bara said, be quiet. This is how we survive. And so he let him down a little bit later, but I guess going to see the fire pits and stuff was like a really long trip. He didn't like it at all. But he said, I want her to have her experience, because I always write about it. I giggle about it, talk about it. And he's like, no, it's your turn. It's about due for you.
Casey, have you actually just like sat and thought about if that were to happen to you, would you welcome that opportunity?
Well, I think so. I think I'm a little bit different. I'm the one that started having a lot of like the spiritual experiences and stuff. And then that's how I guess I connected with him. But he was very closed-minded. Like he would have these dreams and he's like, why me? I don't like it. I hate it. Or, you know, and all that. And I was like, always the one that was giggling and laughing and having fun. Like, this is fun. What are you talking about? And my friend Bryn's the same way. She has a lot of Sasquatch experiences. We're all actually interconnected. Donald's met one of Bryn's kin. She lives in Wisconsin. So it's crazy how we even connected and how we even found her. But she and I think it's funny. We giggle and until it's time to be scared. And then it's time to be, I'm like, I'm going to have a heart attack. I think I'm going to faint. You know, like that's why Kiki didn't show herself to me that one day. She left me an apple though. So I was scared to death. We're going up the hill. We've got all these apples and stuff. I'm down to 5%. I can't even believe I've never had my phone die this quickly. So we brought apples, we brought garlic and stuff. We went up. I brought a beautiful beaded barrette for Kiki. So I was standing there, like I said before, I was showing her how it worked, even though she wasn't standing there. And actually, Sam Kitchen, hey, it's so funny. He's still on here. He was at Beachfoot, and I was going up and traveling nearby. And so I was like, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm actually going to die. I was like, Donald, do you have any water or something? And he's like, no, I didn't bring anything. Maybe just eat one of the apples. And I said, no, those are for Kiki. So I just left it alone. And then when we got back down to the truck, which I felt immediately just like he said, when you're around them, it doesn't matter how many times you're around them. The adrenaline is just like pumping, and I love you and you're nice to me and you never do anything to harm me. I know this, but it's still so scary each time like you're around. This was an especially like scary time. So we start walking down towards the truck. I'm feeling better. I'm like, okay, cool. We're getting close to the vehicle that they could actually pick up and throw if they wanted to, but still I feel safe. Oh, we're in the truck. We look outside and there's an apple sitting halfway down the road, by the way. He said, did you hear that crack? Oh, I don't know, maybe. And then we get down there and bam, there's an apple sitting right there outside of my side of the truck. And Donald's sitting there looking, he goes, hey, did you see that? And I go, well, maybe you dropped it out of the truck when you were loading everything in your backpack. He goes, no, there's no way, because I bought 8 apples. 4 is our special number. So 4 plus 4 is 8. I got 8 apples, and he took every sticker off of each one. I picked it up. There's no sticker. And I go, oh my gosh, she made it down here so quickly. Well, it was like a quarter of a mile, so I guess it wasn't that quick. But for being out in the brush and having to jump over logs, and, you know, we were on a kind of a trail.
Yeah.
She just is, you know, super quick. She brought that apple to me in no time, and
Yeah,
I cherish
that was
that.
really, really cool of her. And I mean, and just to get that validation from Landon, I would kill to get to have something like that from my mom. And I don't know, that's something pretty special, Casey. That's awesome.
Well, now that you just started saying it to me, I bet you 2 days from now I'll be like, hey, I saw this person and I don't know who it was, but they were having a whole conversation. This is what happens sometimes. I start talking to somebody and all of a sudden it's 2 days later and I just had a whole evening. Like I go to sleep and I had a whole conversation, uh a whole hangout session with somebody. I'm like, usually they tell me their name or maybe they don't, but I know exactly what they look like. Or it's just really interesting how those channels open up to invite. And I know that if Spirit knows that somebody can get in, they start telling all their friends too, because
Oh, wow.
it gets a little overwhelming sometimes.
Okay. All right. Well, we will talk after the show and set up a time for you and D to come back. I'd love to have y'all back.
Sorry it took so long to get on. I was really having a lot of technical difficulty. It's just I couldn't
Once
with
you
my
got
computer
on,
or
though,
my phone.
once you got on, though, it seems to be working great. So
It
just
was
whatever you
great.
did, we'll do that next time. Okay. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, guys. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Bye-bye. How crazy was that? Speaking of crazy, Tiffany's sitting over there all froze. Tiffany.
Yes, I'm here now. Thank you for having me back. I just sit. No, I just sit and wait for everything to start moving again.
And there she goes. Good Lord, what is up with this connection tonight? Oh my God. I was going to try to go a little bit longer, but doesn't look like we're going to be able to. If you guys can even hear me, I don't know if you can. Let's see. Yeah, we just lost Tiffany.
No, I'm here now.
Okay. Oh my God, what is going on?
4th time StreamYard has kicked me out.
Yeah, Zach just said tip you're frozen. Zach, okay, I was just gonna ask you. He says, Wayne, you're good. I was just gonna ask you if I'm frozen, but I don't
Yep,
know
I
what
have
is going
frozen.
on.
Yeah, I have frozen 3 times, looking a fool, no doubt, and it's booted me off 4 times.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Anyway, how crazy was that?
Crazy. The human backpack.
I thought I had heard some stuff, man, but I have never heard a human backpack story.
Yes.
And then how do you take that? Because we've talked to D. D seems like a good dude. He seems reputable. He's got a job where he's trusted with the youth.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's totally credible.
And then how do you not? But these stories, if anybody else was saying this stuff, you'd call them, crazy and lock them up. But to be in that position,
again,
man.
I mean, it goes back to, is it just because we've not heard? Because people have experienced this, and like him, he's like, people are going to think I'm batshit crazy and I'm not telling anybody. I mean, is that the reason? It could be.
How many other people are experiencing what he has experienced? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Maybe
and I think I think if we were able to have them on to feel comfortable talking about it, even if we had, make them anonymous as well, maybe they would feel, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
but
that's
it's like
something
you
good
said,
to
it's
come
hard to
from
talk
it.
about.
Yeah, I mean, if these people see this conversation that we're having with D and how we can protect his identity, maybe they can come forward or start to feel comfortable coming forward. The unknown here says he's heard him a similar story. But what do you believe? I mean, I don't know, because I know you commented, the unknown, that it's really hard to believe, and it is. It's so hard to believe, but you can't just call everybody a liar. We have no reason not to believe what D is telling us. And Tiffany is frozen again. All right, I'm just going to end the show, guys. She's hot froze again. Okay, I'm just going to end the show.
There we are. Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to let us keep going. Let's just say our goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye while I'm still here.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for hanging out. Another good episode. We appreciate it. Love you guys very much. All the support. Thank you. Y'all be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. And we will see you Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.